Hello and welcome to the world's most famous podcast. I am Jacqueline Maddison, founder and editor-in-chief. Today we have a very special guest. We are interviewing Jacqueline Caster. She is the founder of Everychild Foundation, and we're going to learn more about her dedication to improving the lives of vulnerable children through the Everychild Foundation. They've granted millions of dollars to fund innovative programs that provide critical services in education, healthcare, and child welfare. So let's dive into her inspiring journey and the mission behind Everychild Foundation and the transformative work that they're doing to change the lives of children in need. Let's welcome Jacqueline to the show.
Hello,
Hi, Jacqueline. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Welcome to the show. It's such an honor to have you.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
So let's get started. Why don't you tell us a little background about yourself and eventually how you were inspired to start the Every Child Foundation?
Okay, well, I grew up in the Midwest in Kansas City, and I was the daughter of a physician and a mother who was very involved in community activities, very involved in philanthropy, and they had grown up the same way. Their parents had been very involved in community giving back. And so it was just sort of an ethos in our household. And so I always planned a career where I would do something to give back as well. And I was an attorney, and I also have a master's in city and regional planning. And I worked in various fields, but ultimately I was in uh, urban redevelopment work. This is kind of after the 70s and 80s when a lot of urban cores around America were kind of dilapidated, and I wanted to kind of help improve inner cities. And so I did that work and had worked I had a private consulting firm where I had clients that were renovating a lot of urban areas around the United States. And at the same time, I also wanted to do something in addition. I got involved in other philanthropic activities. One was a charity that provided housing for senior citizens, low-income senior citizens, and a various assortment of other nonprofits. And along the way, I just got kind of dissatisfied with the fundraising model, because all they really wanted from us was to help them put on an expensive gala that didn't yield that much money when all was said and done, because they were so expensive.
Hmm.
And so I got motivated to come up with a different approach, which was a giving circle. And I didn't know what that was at the time. I never heard of it, but I just was in the bathtub one day and I thought, I must have been staring at the drain, because I was thinking of all the checks I'd written over the years for all these different charities I'd been involved with that, I didn't know where the money had gone. And I thought, why don't we just get a bunch of people to write the check for forget the gala, pull the money and direct it to somewhere that it could be well used.
Oh, I love that. So that's a unique model for Every Child Foundation. So you have this group giving. How many current givers or charitable contributors are part of your organization today?
Well, over 200.
Oh,
I founded this 25 years ago. It's actually going on 26 now. Yeah.
that's amazing. And what are some of the most impactful projects that Every Child Foundation has funded?
Well, there's been quite a few. I'll tell you about one of our most recent ones. It
Mhm.
was called Vision to Learn, and it was started by Austin Buettner, who was a former superintendent of LAUSD schools, among other things. And they found that kids were getting very behind in their schooling because they didn't have proper, they couldn't see. They couldn't see the whiteboard.
Oh, wow.
And it was as simple as just getting them a pair of glasses and getting their eyes examined. And, with all the lack of medical care for a lot of these lower income communities, kids were not having access to vision care. And so we funded a program that they already had these vans up and running that were going to low income schools and examining kids at the schools and prescribing them glasses, but they wanted to expand it into Compton. And they also wanted to expand a new program that was to connect kids that might have more serious eye problems with doctors at Children's Hospital, and they would be connected electronically, and they could get a virtual eye exam from these professional, experts at Children's Hospital, and if need be, they could be referred for more intensive treatment. And that is a real game changer because a lot of these kids, I myself actually had a vision problem that required eye surgery when I was in the first grade.
Oh.
And it's kind of a common problem. And where your eyes aren't working in concert, and I had a wandering eye and they had to straighten your eyes. And anyway, it has to be done by a certain age or it doesn't work. And
Mhm.
these kids are now getting that kind of treatment, among other things.
Oh, I love that. That's
Mhm.
beautiful to be making such a profound difference in the lives of others. So,
Right.
how do you select the initiatives and programs that receive grants from the Everychild Foundation?
Well, our mission is to ease suffering of children, whether it's due to disease, disability, abuse, neglect, or poverty in the greater Los Angeles area. So the idea was we were only going to fund things that were in the local community because we wanted to be able to monitor where our money was going. That was one of my frustrations with my prior philanthropic work is that you didn't necessarily know what the money was doing. There wasn't accountability. So we thought we're all volunteer in this organization. So we don't have time to go traipsing around the world to really, monitor
Yeah.
projects in India or whatever. So the idea was everything would be local. And we wanted to fund things that would have an immediate impact. So it wouldn't be something like research that could take 10 years to provide a result. We wanted to see our money working immediately. So we fund capital or program or hybrid of the two projects, and they can fill any one of those needs. So we've dealt with healthcare. Our very first project was similar to the last one that we funded, which was the first one was a mobile dental clinic.
Hmm.
And we found that kids were waiting 6 months to see a dentist in some neighborhoods that, kids were, so one of the most important reasons that kids were missing school and the LAUSD was due to staying home with dental pain.
Oh my.
And that 50,000 days of school were lost each year in LAUSD due to kids staying home with dental pain. So that, healthcare, we've done a lot in that area. We've dealt with foster youth. Juvenile justice reform is another big area that we focus on. It's, runs the gamut, and the projects generally, if they're a capital project, or program have to be up and running within 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the group can't benefit from a national fundraising base so that they don't really need our grant, but they can't be so small that they don't have a track record of handling large grants. So our grants are $1 million each every
Mm.
year.
That's great. Yeah, that's enough to make a pretty profound impact on a local community initiative for sure.
Mm-hmm. And the way it works is we have a grant screening board who narrows the candidates down to two. And every member of the organization is allowed to vote on the choice between the final two. Our organization is set up for women who are super busy but they want to give back in a meaningful way and they want to use their brains. They don't want to just be throwing parties, but there are a lot of educated women who have talents that they can dedicate, toward helping others. So we get a group of 20 women who volunteer and they work with a professional grant consultant who trains everyone on how to look for a good grant, how to evaluate uh, their financials, how to conduct site visits, how to query their board, etc. And we get trained and we entertain a group of about 20 proposals every year.
Yeah,
After
well, that was like my next question. What role does collaboration play in the success of the initiatives? But you're obviously explaining it how the group works. So go on.
Right. So this group of about 20 work with a grant consultant and ultimately narrow it down to a group of about eight. Eight of those go to site visit, which is fascinating. And that's a great opportunity to see some of the important work that's being done by these real heroes around town. There are so many outstanding agencies serving children. And then we narrow it down to two, and that happens at the end of May. And then over the summer, the two put together a full big proposal and presentation that they present to the entire membership, and every woman in the organization is afforded an equal vote in the final say. And we choose one of those two, and generally in the past the runner-up didn't receive a grant from Everychild directly, but we would rally our troops and try to get people to make personal donations to the runner-up. And that happened generally every year. And in a couple of years, the one year the runner-up got $1 million from every child member, and another year they actually got $2 million. So it actually paid to be the loser this year.
Wow, that's
But that's not,
great.
yeah, that's not typical. But
Yeah.
about 5 years, 6 years ago, we decided that we would raise our dues. Our dues were $5,000 a piece. They're now 6,000, and we fund a grant to the runner-up, ideally a six-figure grant that comes directly from every child. And of course, we still continue to encourage our members. Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. You know, charity is the highest virtue on earth and in heaven. Myself, I'm a Christian, so I ascribe to the teachings of Jesus, and he taught us that it's more blessed to give than to receive, and that those of us who give to the poor, lends to the Lord and he repays us. So, this idea of serving the less fortunate, because also Jesus taught me that the greatest of all will become the servant of all. And I love how you said that, serving the children, because I think if we all shifted our mindset to one of servitude, not only in our charitable giving, but in our businesses and our personal lives, I think we might have a taste of heaven on earth. Now, so philanthropy has changed a lot over the years. What trends are you seeing in the world of charitable giving today, other than this giving circle, which is a unique model in itself?
Well, I just want to reiterate one point about Everychild. We are actually non-sectarian. So we are focused on just, giving to groups that will dispense services, but do not, that are not mission oriented, religious mission oriented, although an organization can be faith-based. So to be eligible for a grant, meaning they can possibly distribute their services through churches, synagogues, other houses of worship, and that is
Yeah.
fine with us. The trends that I am seeing, well, I think people want accountability. I think that's a really important
Yep.
aspect of
It's so
charitable giving.
true. I
Uh-huh.
think people are reluctant to give because of exactly that. They don't really trust that the funds are going to the cause because, they might be interested in giving because of the emotional pull, the emotional draw, but then where's the accountability? How can they be sure the money is actually going to serve those in need?
Right. So that's why there's been the popularity now in these websites that track the organization's profiles online. And I'm blanking on the name. What the heck is the name of the one? There's one that's a huge one. I'll think of the name and it'll come to me in a minute. But anyway, there's several. Charity Navigator is,
Charity
and
Navigator.
there's a few others. And people rely on those more and more because they do require the agencies to post their tax returns and be show some daylight on what they're doing. And I think
Oh, I
that's
love that.
another thing that I've seen, and this actually happened with Everychild, is during COVID, our idea is to make a single grant each year to a group that has a new, innovative, replicable prototype project so that it'll have legs. So we don't want to just make a grant and it's just that project and that's the be all and end all of our grant. We want it to be something that will inspire more projects like itself.
Yeah, like future
So,
growth and
right. So for
yeah.
instance, we funded a program that deals with asthma in low-income communities where kids live in slum housing and their asthma is caused by the dust mites, cockroaches, and mold in their interiors of their homes. And the project sends staff from the agency. It's a healthcare clinic for the poor where they were seeing this huge
Wow,
kids coming in
unbelievable.
with this asthma, and they were sending in staff to their homes and teaching them how to use bleach to clean up the mold and
Mhm.
helping them with HEPA vacuums and mattress sealants. And it dropped the asthma rate so dramatically that the program got a grant to. It was extended to their adult population, and ultimately it became a statewide program. So those are the kinds of things that we like to fund, something that can be replicated and have
Mhm.
wider impact. And I think
Yeah.
people are looking for those kinds of projects as well with their giving. And but what happened during COVID is instead of doing these large transformative grants, the organizations were not in that mode. They were just trying to keep their heads above water.
Mhm.
So we were just giving general operation grants and we made multiple smaller grants instead of one large grant. And the interesting thing was we let the organizations do whatever they needed to do with that money to keep them in operation. And so many of those projects ended up becoming replicable and having wider impacts because many of them use the money to expand their client base by increasing access to online services. So they were helping more of their clients get online. They were providing, laptops and technology and connections, and they were expanding their client base. They were getting more services delivered, and that has continued. And that is an area that I think a lot of people are looking toward in terms of their funding priorities right now is, access to services and
Yeah.
programs like that expand care.
I mean, it's just a travesty that some of the basic needs of life for any human soul anywhere on the planet is not being met. I mean, I think that's a testament to really a failure of us as a humankind. So I think these smaller initiatives that are growing and expanding are just changing the world and doing what we are all called to do. And I think the transparency factor is so important. I think we've all had our fill of underhanded activity and mistrust. And so I think it's vital for business, charity, and our personal lives to just operate from a place of integrity and transparency. And again, servitude, caring for the needs of others. So I just want to honor you for what you're doing because you're having a butterfly effect and making the world a better place with even
Well, I'll tell you,
local actions.
I'll tell you something interesting with these recent fires.
Mm,
It was coincidental that the same day that the fire started, the outgoing U.S. Surgeon General,
mm,
Vivek Murthy, had given his sort of final pronouncement in terms of a prescription for the country.
mhm,
And he had been doing research on what creates better mental health and physical health over the last 8 years. And he determined that community is the solution and that we all need to have more solid communities where we feel that they're purpose driven. So he said the three pillars of community are servitude, purpose, and um, like a membership or relationships.
Right.
So
Yeah.
where you're connected, where you have a network, where you feel like you're part of something, but what you're part of is servicing a
Right.
need in the community, and and that you have a specific driven purpose, so that it's meaningful. And
Yeah.
and I think that's really a fascinating way for him to end his term, because that is, in fact, what every child does.
I love it.
We're women that have been together for some of us for 25 years now, and the bonds that you form while serving others are some of the most important that you will ever create.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love what he said because it's so true. And I think we, on kind of a macro scale, need to adopt those principles once again. I think that we've experienced too much division and we need to start operating with the intention of a collective purpose, of improving our world and providing for the needs of everyone. I think we just need a whole paradigm shift in general within our hearts to be able to start impacting our local communities like you're doing. That will in turn impact the whole world. What personal values or experiences have shaped your approach to leadership? Obviously, you're the founder of this initiative, and to philanthropy.
Well, I mean, empathy. I
Mm,
just think empathy is one of the most important characteristics a person can have. And, that's why it's been so heartbreaking to see so much of what's been going on
yeah,
in our country lately, because the lack of empathy is
right.
staggering, and everybody's got a story, everybody's got nobody has a perfect life, and everybody's got something going on that they're dealing with. And I think people just need to be more aware and attuned to the needs of others
It's so
in
true.
general. And yeah.
It's so true. I had an interaction with somebody the other day, and I was motivated to say, it takes just as much effort to be kind than it does to be mean.
Mhm.
So it's the simple actions and words that we express that changes.
Right. When I was growing up, my mother had this expression she used to use when we were getting a little too uppity for ourselves, as children. She would say, "Get off your high horse."
Yep, exactly.
And that is such an important thing. You have to just be
Humble,
fair
being
and humble, and
Yeah, like humility is actually a virtue and it's a beautiful quality. And I mean in the sense of, like you say, not being on your high horse, not looking down at your nose at others, just, man, being kind and empathetic and compassionate to your neighbor. Like you said, we're all walking through this journey of life, and we all have our um, ups and downs, and our experiences that can sometimes be very difficult. And so we need to really consider that and start loving each other truly.
Mhm.
What is your vision for the future of every child?
Well, that it continues, first of all. And to that end, we have started in the last year a new group called Next Gen. And so they're for women age 45 and under age 45. And the idea is they pay their dues is a smaller amount. They pay $2,500 in annual dues, and they will learn, that they have an equal vote. Their vote counts the same as any other member, and they will get educated and learn about the needs of the community. I mean, one of the things that this organization does is it teaches you the issues that a lot of us are just not aware of. Like when we first started, I didn't know there was this dental epidemic among so
Right.
many children, and in the low-income communities. In fact, I learned that there were kids have heart disease that comes through their gums because
Wow.
they don't have proper dental care and they get infections in their gums and it goes into their heart. And like some of these kids, if they need to go in for some sort of internal surgery, they have to get their gums cleaned out before they can even have surgery.
Wow.
So there's so much to learn, there's so much to know. And so the women that are joining, are in that position where they're going to start learning about all these critical unmet needs that many of us are not aware of. And also, who are the best actors there doing the work, who are the best foundations and the most cutting edge innovators out there, and that they will continue to, do that kind of work. We also have a policy committee where because we've learned so much about some of these issues, like with foster care and juvenile justice and investment in early childhood education, homelessness, that we are able to advocate for legislation in Sacramento. And we're having a voice on that level. And I hope that will continue, the organization will continue to do that kind of work and have that kind of impact.
And how can women looking to make a difference get involved with the foundation?
They can go on our website, which is everychildfoundation.org, and everything is clear on there about how to get involved. And if you'd like to join, there's a membership page. If you'd like to simply just donate, that is great. And you don't have to be a woman to donate. And we also list on there all the agencies that we have funded and the projects that we funded. So if you want to do something more hands-on, there's opportunities to get involved with some of those organizations. So any organization that we funded, you can be assured has been very well vetted. We're renowned for our vetting process. We are very thorough. And like, for instance, one great project that we funded was Sentinel Youth Services, where kids who break the law and they don't have a serious track record yet are able to have the charges dropped if they participate in a therapeutic program that Sentinel offers. And that includes like therapy, tutoring, getting enrolled in after school activities. And it also includes victim offender mediation if the crime involves the victim. And you can volunteer with Sentinella as a mediator for the victim offender mediation, which is a great experience. So there's a lot of hands-on things you can get involved with as well if you're not in a position to donate or would rather do that kind of volunteering.
That's fantastic. So men and women can be members, or is it
No,
a women only membership, but anyone can donate?
Right.
Okay, great.
Yeah, our tagline is Women Reinventing Philanthropy, and that's what we do.
I love it. So, what final message or call to action would you like to share with our listeners today?
Hmm.
You
Well,
know, and another question is like, you're already doing so much for children, but like, what is one thing that you could change in the world today that, because the children are our future, that will make it better for the children?
I think that every child has to be looked at the same, and that there needs to be an understanding that children are all born with everyone is an individual with rights, and everyone has opportunities, and that nobody should be made to feel lesser than. And whether due to, race, sexuality, whatever it turns out to be, I think that we need to just be more accepting,
Yeah.
and that
And
children
tolerant of
and
our
tolerant.
differences and
Yes,
changes.
and
Yeah.
that needs to come from the top down, and I hope to see some leadership in our country on that level, because that is what kids need most to succeed in the world. They need to feel valued and whole.
That's 100% correct. And it does, come down from the top. So our leadership and also the parental, but even just, being an influence, an aunt, a brother, a sister, all of it. You know, we all have the power to make a difference in each other's lives and in the lives of children. And so we need to be cognizant of that fact and of the influence and power we have and use it for the good.
And we need to emphasize that children need to be understanding about, they themselves need to learn understanding and tolerance.
Right.
And, they will be influencers of their, in their own right as they grow up. So you need to be accepting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love it. Again, I want to just, commend you on your incredible work, Jacqueline. You're doing just amazing things. You're having such an impact on this world for the good. I mean, you are practicing, what I'm preaching,
Mhm.
which is
I'm also lucky that I have the support of a wonderful family. My husband
yeah.
is a physician himself. He's actually located in Beverly Hills.
Oh, that's right. We got to get him on the show.
Oh, right. Yeah, Andrew Caster. He's an eye surgeon. He does LASIK surgery, and he chose a path for himself where he is giving back as well, and he's also the son of a doctor and the grandson of a doctor, and it's just an ethos in our family, and our kids have been raised kind of in that same direction. And in fact, our daughter is a next gen member of Everychild, and
Oh, great.
yeah, so
Oh, no,
it's
I'm sure they will, pay it forward and carry the legacy on with you setting such an incredible example for really how we should give back, love others, and care for the less fortunate.
mhm,
Such an
absolutely.
honor spending time with you, Jacqueline. I do. How do you pronounce your name? Jacqueline? Jacqueline?
However you want to say it.
I know, I'm the same. It's actually Jacqueline, but the American, I'm from South Africa originally, and people say Jacqueline, and then the French Jacqueline. So whatever. Do you go by Jackie?
I typically people call me Jackie, but I would say I typically pronounce my name Jacqueline.
Yeah, I prefer it, but it's nice to pronounce the Q. Qua, Jacqueline, Jacqueline.
Jacqueline. I had an uncle who
Jacqueline.
was a friend who was a watercolor painter in France, and he just always called me Jacqueline.
I
So
love it. Well, yeah, well, we share the same name, so that's beautiful. Hey, it's so wonderful to spend some time with you today. Um, I wish you all the best. I wish you continued growth and expansion of the initiatives in Los Angeles and hopefully beyond. And anything else before we wrap up?
um, thank you again. This is quite
Yeah.
an honor, and I hope other people get inspired to give back in different ways. And just one thing I'll mention.
Mm,
Every Child has actually inspired a lot of other similar groups
yeah.
with different demographics as members, different causes, different price points. There's even a children's version of this that somebody started. So,
Well, I started the God Foundation, GOD, and it stands for Gifts of Devotion, and it's kind of a worldwide. It's a Judeo-Christian organization where what we do is we're funding orphanages and really, truly poor individuals in these third world countries, but all over the world. They're just messaging us. We haven't had food for 4 days, so we're sending this, or we're buying groceries. I mean, it's just the need is unbelievable on such a massive scale that it breaks my heart. But at least, but I love your model, and I'm considering probably, incorporating it in some way, just on a larger scale, some type of membership or group giving concept, because I think it works. But otherwise, of course, anyone can give anytime if they so choose.
right, right. Well, good luck with that. And
Thank
it's
you.
it's 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 wonderful in our organization because every member has some say as to where the money goes.
Right.
That is an important feature of a giving circle. So,
Okay, I love
um,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, like a mini democracy that works.
Mhm.
How it should work.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I wish you a blessed day. It's really been so sweet to spend some time with you and learn more about the Every Child Foundation, and I'm excited to learn more about its upcoming projects and initiatives and how it's changing the world and making it a better place, one child at a time.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to spread our message.
Of course. God bless you, Jacqueline. We'll see you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.